We always love reading Truth Socials from Trump because they just sort of, he always hits the same sort of beats. He starts bragging about himself. It's pretty funny. So let me read you from it, at least some of it. Again, he does these, Trump on Truth Social does these boomer texts now. It's ridiculous. They're like 10 pages long because there's no character limit on Truth Social. It's ridiculous. But let's read from some of what he's had to say about Epstein yesterday. As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein, are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein, and the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they're legally entitled to. I don't care. And then Trump goes on to brag about all the great accomplishments that he's had during his first term. So this was a good statement, and it's promising to see. And honestly, this should have been the response from the very beginning. Like, Trump does have nothing to hide. He didn't do anything with Jeffrey Epstein. To this day, there's been no evidence that Trump went to his island, did any bad behavior regarding Epstein and any girl associated with Epstein. There's just no proof. All you have is like pictures and video of Trump partying with Jeffrey Epstein. And because of that, we have to assume that Trump's like a pedophile. What? You know, I went to middle school with a teacher. I didn't know at the time, but there was a teacher who was a pedophile. We later found out. What? There's a picture of me next to this teacher. What does that mean? I'm a pedophile too? That's the sort of logic these libtards are using against Trump. Now, in all fairness, the administration totally mishandled this whole situation regarding Jeffrey Epstein. It made it easy for them to, try to imply that, the reason why the administration's not being, they're not being, they're not releasing all this information. They're not being transparent. That's the word I was looking for. My apologies. I couldn't find the word for a second. The reason why they're not being transparent is because they're hiding the fact that Trump is somehow implicated in these files. Now, the question is, what does the Justice Department really have? What are these files? What are the Epstein files exactly? Well, it's not really clear. Now, that can be in part because there's not been enough transparency on them. That's possible. But you know what? It's also possible, and Michael Tracy has talked about this. He's an independent reporter. He's very good. That, honestly, there's not that much there in reality when it comes to Epstein. Epstein was an individual who was obsessed with power, and he liked pretending or implying that he had access to a lot of power. But that doesn't mean he actually did. So in some of these new emails that were released during, the time frame between 2017 to 2019, he talks about how he was like Donald Trump's best friend and he had all this influence on Trump. But that doesn't mean he actually did. Trump was the president at that point, and Epstein also knew that the feds were hot on his tail because of him having sex with underage girls. So we saw his life going to shit and Trump's life obviously coming to great prominence with him ascending to the presidency. So if you look at some of these emails, he clearly became obsessed with Trump. And because of that, he started, I think, pretending that he had more of a relationship with Trump than he ever actually did. I think that's the reality of what happened there. Now, what is left to be shown with Epstein? What are these files that supposedly exist? It's not clear. I will just say this. Even though it is suspicious how he got his money, the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell's father basically got a state funeral from the state of Israel, that's a little weird. The fact that Epstein was a college dropout but later became a college professor and had access to many young girls. There's a lot of there, but there is very little evidence at all that he was sex trafficking women, to underage women, to give to prominent people where he would later blackmail them. I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm just saying there's no real evidence that it did. Just a lot of innuendo. And supposedly there was a prosecutor in Florida who claimed that there was more to the Epstein case, but he was told by the feds to not look into him because he might be intelligence. That prosecutor has recanted that story or has said that the story is misleading. Again, Michael Tracy has talked about that. Again, there's just a lot of smoke, but it's not clear there is an actual fire. Now, there might be, and that's why, to the extent the Justice Department has any more files that have not been disclosed, they need to release them. That's why this statement from Trump saying that we have nothing to hide, release everything, that's a good statement. But why the hell did he not do that to begin with? That was always the move. The move was always, let's release everything, total transparency, and let the chips fall where they may. The fact that we had to go through this, they're hiding the files, it didn't do anyone any good. It didn't help Trump politically, it hurt him. It made it made the Attorney General Bondi look like a dumbass who just wants to go on Fox News and look pretty, which is why she wears 10 trillion pounds of makeup on her face to cover up all those wrinkles. To be fair, her boss wears a bunch of makeup to cover up his wrinkles too, so maybe we shouldn't be too hard on her. Man, Trump has to lay off the orange, man. I know you're really old now, dude, but chill with the orange. You look ridiculous sometimes now, man. But anyway, but it didn't help anyone politically. It was just a disaster. The handling of the Epstein files was a disaster for the Trump administration. And you could see when Trump's approval started to dip was when all this Epstein crap happened. But at the end of the day, there's no evidence Trump did anything wrong. Maybe he's been protecting powerful friends who did. Maybe he's protecting Israel. I don't know. But to the extent there's more files to be released, release them. And as Trump said, he has nothing to hide, nothing to be afraid of. And neither do the Republican Party. So release the files, folks. Release the files. Anyway, folks, that's it for today. Again, please subscribe, whether on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. If you are listening on YouTube, please also like and comment. It helps with the algorithm. We'll be back tomorrow, folks. We will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.